is written. Pauls, Palermo, Festerson, Harding, Jerem, Melton, Pauls, Mr. President.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation today by Council Member Pete Feather.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we say the Pledge of Allegiance every week, and I think sometimes we take that for granted or don't think about going through the motions so much. So I wanted to read something today that was a perspective of a 7th grader, which happened to be my 7th grader, Caroline Festerson, who wrote a little paragraph about the Pledge of Allegiance, which I think is appropriate to our life and times these days. So it reads like this. For 9 years, I've been saying the Pledge of Allegiance without having a clue what it means. Let's be honest, what does it really mean? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Here you are promising loyalty to the U.S. government and to the citizens within the U.S. You'll respect everyone, no matter their judgment, likes, dislikes, or race, and to the republic for which it stands. This states that you are also pledging your allegiance to the republic and its values, which are stated in the next line: one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are saying that we work together as one nation and will help each other to achieve the best we can. The values that our country respects and follows are liberty, justice, freedom, and equality. Treating everyone like this plays a crucial role in today's society. Thanks for letting me share that with you.
Thank you.
Did you have permission?
Oh, I almost played it. Yeah, I asked you. You did.
And speaking of that, you have a bright, beautiful daughter. In fact, you have more. You have 2, but you just read one. But I wanted to take some time because the city of Omaha, we just appointed the first female assistant chief in the department's history, dating back all the way to 1860. And I think that's really important to note that Chief Olson and our fire department hired Kathy Bossman. She was hired by the Omaha Fire Department on March 10th of 1997. She was previously a battalion chief assigned to suppression duties in Battalion 5, which serves West Central Omaha. She will now supervise the daily supervision activities of the C shift while also overseeing the Emergency Medical Services Division. So this is a very big distinction for Chief Bossman, and I just wanted to make sure that we all recognize that and notice that. I think to me at least, it seemed to kind of miss the news, she kind of missed the recognition that I think she truly deserves for breaking this glass ceiling in the city of Omaha.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of the legislative chambers.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Omaha City Council. The council thanks you for joining us today. For those in attendance, for those of you who want to be respectful of others, please turn off or mute any of your electronic devices. Madam Clerk.
All right, items 6 through 15 relate to the same project, the Putnam Place development located southwest of 102nd and Nicholas Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 6 is an ordinance providing for the designation of an enhanced employment area for the Putnam Place development. A is an amendment of the whole requested by the Law Department. Item 7, an ordinance to rezone this property from CC to CC. Item 8, an ordinance to rezone this property from CC to GC. Item 9, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the ACI-3PL area of civic importance overlay district to incorporate this district into that district. Item 10, an ordinance vacating a portion of North 102nd Frontage Road between Nicholas Street and the intersection with 102nd Street. Item 11, a resolution to approve the preliminary plat for Put in Place. Item 12, a resolution to approve the final plat for Put in Place. Item 13, an ordinance to approve a development agreement with West Roads Investors, LLC. Item 14, a resolution to approve the Put in Place subdivision agreement. Item 15, a resolution to approve a special use permit application submitted by West Roads Investors, LLC for a large project special use permit in a GC district with a waiver of section 55-406 height 170 feet. I'll just note that after the public hearing, item 6 will be considered apart from items 7 to 15.
Public hearing on agenda item number 6 through 15 is today. Proponents, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Larry Jobin, 11440 West Center Road, appearing on behalf of the applicant, West Roads Investors, LLC. With me today from West Roads Investors, LLC is Drew Schneider and Jeff Elliott. Also with me today is Sanjay Arora with Topgolf. He's the real estate manager. And before I get into the various approvals that we have before you today on the agenda, I did want to turn it over to Sanjay to kind of explain the Topgolf concept, and I think he can do it better than I can, certainly. So I'm going to turn it over to him with a short presentation, and then I'll go through the various approvals. So with that.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
For the record, your name and address, please.
Sanjay Arora. Address is 8750 North Central Expressway, Dallas, Texas.
Thank you.
Do you need the zip code?
No, that's
Sorry.
fine. We'll know where to find you.
Okay. Fair enough.
No,
Fair enough. So I wanted to kind of walk you guys through Topgolf if you might not be familiar with our brand. We're a growing physical entertainment and digital media brand. We now have 34 locations up and running in the United States, 3 in the United Kingdom. One of our largest investors is Callaway Golf Company, a publicly traded golf company. And we're truly excited to be part of the Omaha community. We think we've found the site for us and great partners to work with. And this would be the only location for us in the state of Nebraska. And so we're looking forward to getting this process going. So I could quickly kind of walk you through our story. We started in 1996 just as a normal driving range, and the idea to implement RFID technology into our golf balls to track and electronically digitalize a scoring system was created out of that. Moving on, we now have almost a 20-year operating history, and as I mentioned before, we now have 34 venues up and running in the United States. This will kind of give you sort of our pathway to growth. We think, we see potential to expand to over 100 venues throughout the United States. Again, 34 open, 10 currently under construction. This is a very telling slide just to sort of show you our runway. This year alone, we think we're tracking towards 17.3 million visitors to a Topgolf. Compared to major sporting events, you can see where we're lining up. The Topgolf Difference, just to sort of walk you through our experience, the facility in Omaha will be 72 bays. The bays are open and can hold up to 6 people per bay. So it's a really social and dynamic environment where we encourage social interactions among our guests and visitors. It's an all-weather hitting bay, plus minus 30 degrees is the outside temperature. So we think that's very useful in the winter months. Again, it's all about technology. There's physical ball tracking technology where you can see how far your ball is going and how you score in the Topgolf game. But we're also introducing optical tracking technology. So if you watch golf on TV, there you can see the tracing technology. We've acquired that company and now call it Top Tracer. So we're implementing that into all our venues as well. Community is really important to us, and I wanted to reiterate that here. Just some basic demographics at the bottom of this slide, but almost 30% of our customers are female. The bulk of them are ages 18 to 44. 70% would consider themselves non-golfers. And of those non-golfers, 24% take their Topgolf experience and translate it into an actual golf outing experience on a golf course. So when a Topgolf comes into town, you also see increased participation in local municipal golf courses as well. And I wanted to reiterate just some of the community impact we have. We really see ourselves as a partner in the communities we enter into. High school golf teams and local youth leadership groups are allowed to use our facility for free Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have national partnerships with Make-A-Wish Foundation, as well as the PGA's local First Tee chapter. So we really encourage sort of a grassroots campaign within the community to see where we can get involved. And here I could just kind of walk you through the game itself. You can see 4 targets at the 25-yard mark, going all the way out to 215 yards. And you hit a golf ball, and where it lands in the target is how you sort of score. And that's the core secret sauce of the Topgolf game. And what we're overlaying on top of that is a certain optical tracking technology and trying to make the game more interactive and fun for all the people that use it. This slide here can just sort of orient you towards an actual hitting bay. So you can see it's right on the left-hand side. You can kind of see the targets in the outfield, and you can see 2 flat screen TVs to your left that incorporate all the tracking and electronic components of the game. All our golf clubs are Callaway golf clubs and are free rentals for anybody who comes to the facility. And you have food and beverage service at your bay as well. Here, we'll just kind of walk you through a quick venue. So you can sort of see the exterior illuminated at nighttime. Moving to the right, you can see the lobby, followed by our main bar. We have a dedicated corporate event space, so we like to encourage corporate users to utilize that space for a variety of reasons. Here you can see sort of the social interaction and social dynamic at play within one of our bays. To the right of that, you'll see a tee line at night. And then at the bottom left, you'll see sort of our outfield illuminated at night. Moving on to a lower lounge. Again, we have, we encourage people to use that lounge. There's free pool tables, free TVs, free Xbox games for children to come and use. And then we have a rooftop terrace as well. So again, this kind of just walks you through what a hitting bay is. So 6 players in a bay, TV screens and stuff we've sort of touched upon. Food and beverage is a big part of our business and something we're committed to. We have a strong corporate chef and executive chef presence at every venue, and it's something we're continually focused on and trying to improve at all times. Here, these are just some of the pictures of our food and beverage offerings. And that's it. I hope that gives you sort of just a quick background as to what Topgolf is, and I'll turn it over back to Larry.
Can I just ask you just really one quick question? The balls that you have,
Yeah.
Those balls are they're specially made balls?
Yeah, they're specially made,
okay.
Yeah. They're equipped with RFID technology, and so when you hit a golf ball, it can track exactly how far it went and where it entered into a target, and depending on where it entered into that target, you get a score for that result.
Now, I only ask because one of my colleagues was wondering if it works like it should, like your golf balls work. You should be able to find his golf balls, but you're not going to be able to find Mr. Jerem's golf balls. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the council, Larry Jobin, 11440 West Center Road. So I'll get into the various approvals that are before you today, which actually I thought about it. I think this is the most I've ever seen on any one project in my entire career. So there's a lot of things to talk about today, although I think it's all pretty simple for the most part. So the site itself is located at the southwest of 102nd and Nicholas, and it is currently several automobile dealerships that are the Baxter dealerships. They've now, as you know, moved out to 168th Street in the West Dodge Point area, which makes way for this particular site. So the approvals that we want to talk about today are, of course, the enhanced employment area, which provides for the general business occupation tax. Also, there's an amendment of the whole, which corrects there was an error in the sunset provision, so that amendment to the whole fixes the EEA ordinance. There's preliminary and final plat approval, and then there's rezoning of one of the lots from CC to GC, and then there's rezoning of two of the lots from CC to CC. They all have an ACI 3 overlay attached to them. And then, of course, there's a large project special use permit in GC for the Topgolf because it's in excess of 10 acres and it exceeds 40,000 square feet as far as the building. And then there is also a development agreement, and the development agreement is on Lot 1, and that development agreement is because this area currently is zoned CC, but we had to rezone it to GC to allow for outdoor sports and recreation, to allow for the Topgolf facility. And so what we agreed with the planning department to do is enter into a development agreement that effectively said that with respect to Lot 1, we're going to apply all the same permitted, conditional, and special uses that are allowed in CC, with the exception of one that's allowed in GC, and that's the outdoor sports and recreation facility to allow for Topgolf. So that's the reason why that development agreement is in there. And then, of course, with every preliminary and final plat, or final plat, you have a subdivision agreement, so we have that on there as well. So this is the site plan. It shows all three lots, Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3. And what you have here is a total site with 14.02 acres. Lot 1 is a little over 10 acres, and of course that's the Topgolf facility. You got lots 2 and 3, which are really just commercial pad sites, but they're shown as 2 restaurants. They're looking to do kind of the regional, national type brands that will complement the Topgolf, and Topgolf, of course, will complement them as well. Both buildings are 8,500 square feet. They're just conceptual at this point, so when they actually find an end user, that could change, but right now they're shown as 8,500 square feet. As far as Topgolf's facility is 55,000 square feet, and it's 3 stories of elevated hitting bays, and there are 72 of those, and they're climate-controlled hitting bays, and I think Sanjay talked about that. They accommodate up to 6 players in each one of the hitting bays, and then this outdoor area is 4 acres, and it's 215 yards from the building to the end of the fence to hit. It's all artificial turf, and the poles with the kind of the clear net mesh fencing around the site range from about 90 feet to 170 feet at the end of the facility towards 102nd Street. I think he kind of went over the conceptual things of how they operate and how it works as far as the entertainment aspects of what Topgolf is, and I think it's going to be an exciting project. As far as the parking is concerned, on the Topgolf site, they provide for 357 parking stalls. That's nearly 5 stalls per hitting bay, and they estimate that their parking demand will be approximately 350 parking spaces. So, and the required parking is 1 parking stall per 4 persons, and that's under the assembly part of the code. So it's parking compliant, and it's of course parking compliant with respect to lots 2 and 3 as well, and the restaurants that are shown there. As far as the building materials, and one of the items that is on the agenda today is the ACI 3 overlay, which kicks in the urban design code. And we have met with the planning department and their staff, and of course they've found that the building materials and the look of the building are ACI 3, in this case, compliant. And it's here's one of the elevations from further away. This is obviously from the west looking east, and this is along the view that you'll see on I-680 as you're heading north and south. It's tile, metal, synthetic stucco, and composite panels, as well as glass, and so it's a pretty attractive building. This is I don't know if you can zoom out a little more than that, but that shows the entryway into the structure as well. I do have some cool views of the site, and this is of course 102nd Street, and you got I-680 and then Dodge Street. You can see back here the First National Bank building, so you're looking west from Westroads over the top. So this is what the facility will look like from the east looking west. This is a view pulled back further overlooking the west roads. Of course, you have Von Mar here, so this is a little bit further back, so you'll see how it relates to the office building to the north, the two restaurants that are part of this development, and then, of course, the H&H dealerships here, which are the BMW and Jaguar, et cetera. Here's another viewpoint of the facility. This is from I-680 looking southeast, so you got the main part of the building here, and then, of course, the playing field to the east to 102nd Street. So I want to share those with you as well. So again, the elevations were reviewed and approved by the planning department as far as ACI compliant. So what gets us down to really which is the first approval, item 6 on your agenda, but the last one I kind of wanted to talk about, and that's the enhanced employment area and the general business occupation tax. And the developer is requesting that the area be designated as an enhanced employment area under the community development law of the state of Nebraska. And this is really just an economic incentive just as TIF is. And it's one of the few economic incentives that we have in the state of Nebraska. And so, of course, you all know that we use this for the first time on the Capital District, and I'm sure that will be a success, as this will as well. The purpose of obtaining the designation of the enhanced employment area designation is to impose the general business occupation tax. The general business occupation tax, being similar to TIF, will actually allow for the repayment of certain eligible expenses under the community development law that are essentially loaned to the city as being an eligible cost and then repaid not through the increment as in a TIF project, but through the imposition of a general business occupation tax that, when collected and remitted, will help offset and defray those eligible expenses under the community development law. So that gets us to our costs and the request generally as far as the general business occupation tax. The total project costs are $53,577,000. The total developer costs are about $26 million, almost $27 million. And the authorized work or eligible costs under the community development law are comprised of land acquisition, but only land acquisition as it relates to the parking area. So we broke off that part of the property that was being acquired that is used for parking. For whatever reason, that's the way the statute reads. And so I think the law department agrees with me on that. And that number is $3 million, almost approximately $3.8 million. And then there's site preparation, which is also an eligible expense, and that's almost $4.8 million. So there's a total eligible costs of $8 million, almost $8.6 million as far as the total eligible costs. As far as site preparation, that includes demolition of the existing automobile dealerships. It includes environmental remediation, which is both asbestos and also there's some underground storage tanks because of the automobile dealerships that have been there for a long time. There is, oh yeah, I forgot, there's one other item on your agenda, which is the vacation of the frontage road, and I have a depiction there. Currently, there's a frontage road that's public that is also on the agenda today being vacated. Although it's being vacated, there is a private access easement that the office building will be able to use, as well as Topgolf, the two restaurants, and then the H&H automobile dealership. That is being vacated, but as part of the vacation process, we are granting a public easement, so there'll be a public and a private easement that deals with access. And the reason why we did that is it was necessary to incorporate the frontage road into the development itself. And so even though it's private in character and will be maintained privately, the public will have access to use it as they do currently today. So I guess I didn't want to forget about that. So part of the eligible expenses are dealing with the frontage road. Also, there is a dedicated left that's being constructed on 102nd Street into the site. There's also a dedicated left that is being constructed that will serve the West Roads as well. So there's some public improvements that are part of the eligible expenses. There's also a sidewalk, a 5-foot sidewalk that'll run along the entire frontage of the development that is being installed with this particular project. So with the total eligible expenses being almost $8.6 million, the developer is requested a incentive of $5 million to offset some of those TIF eligible expenses. And the $5 million loan to be repaid is on a non-recourse basis, just as TIF is. So the $5 million is only repaid to the extent that the general business occupation tax is collected and remitted. And so it's based upon certain sales projections that they're pretty comfortable with. I think they were pretty conservative with not only the Topgolf sales projections, but also the 2 restaurants shown as well. So it's also for a period of 20 years under state law, or until the $5 million is repaid, whichever is first. And we think, based upon the projections, it could be, 5 to 6 years earlier than the 20-year term under state law. Obviously, there's no guarantee of that, but we do have the 20 years if the general business occupation tax doesn't come in as anticipated. There's a whole pro forma out there that we can get into, but basically the return without this incentive is a negative 3.41%, obviously not acceptable from a financial perspective, and the return with the incentive is a positive 7.76%. And this is really consistent with our TIF projects that we have if you were using the real estate taxes to repay the TIF loan. This is also comes to you for the first time. This is only the second project that we've done. It comes to you after we came up with this idea, or the city came up with this idea of an enhanced employment area committee, and that was based upon the Capital District and moving forward, that we thought it was important to have, just as we have a TIF committee, we have an enhanced employment area committee that would review these projects in advance of getting here, so you can at least have someone kind of vet out the application and the numbers and really drill down on what's being requested. For those who don't know, and maybe do, the finance director, planning director, city attorney, public works director, and in this case, the mayor's office, but Cassie Pavin was part of that committee. And the committee, we met on 2 different occasions for approximately 3.5 hours, I would say, between the 2 meetings that we had. We had very good dialogue, and we made some adjustments to the application. What we think, we have a really good presentation when it comes to the numbers and the request for the benefit. And then what we also did is we looked at what is the benefits to the city by bringing in this Topgolf. And what we looked at is, what's the estimated city tax benefit from a property tax perspective, as well as a sales tax and restaurant tax perspective. And we determined, based upon the projection of sales, is that the sales tax and restaurant benefit will be about a little over $1 million annually, and that's with the local option 1.5% sales tax and the 2.5% restaurant tax. And the estimated property tax benefit from the property valuation and multiplied by the levy to the city alone is about almost approximately $93,000, and the total annually to all the various taxing authorities is about $433,000 to the various taxing authorities. And then we thought it was important to look at it from a 20-year perspective. What's the sales and restaurant tax benefit on a 20-year term, and what's the property tax benefit on a 20-year term? And we determined that the 20-year sales tax and restaurant tax benefit on a 20-year term is about $21.7 million, and the 20-year property tax benefit for the city portion on the property tax is about $1.4 million, and the total to all taxing authorities is about $6.7 million. So there's a big benefit when it comes to the sales and restaurant tax, as well as the property tax to the city of Omaha and other taxing authorities. And then I think the other issue that came up in the Capital District, and I think we've now got this down as far as how is it collected. And so what we did is we put together, a sample receipt, if you will. And so this is an example. And so if you just took a $100 sale, for example, and this one would be a $100 sale of food items, either in the restaurants or in the Topgolf facility. You have a general business occupation tax of $1.75%, because that's what's being requested here, and that's what's part of the ordinance and the agreement. On that $100, that would generate $1.75, and then you have the restaurant tax on that same $100, which is at the rate of 2.5%, so that would generate $2.50 on that same $100. So you have a subtotal of $104.25. Then you take that, multiplied by the total sales tax of 7%, and that generates $7.30. So on that total receipt, with all the taxes included, it's $111.55. So you essentially have $11.55 added to that $100. So that just is an example of how that would generate. Now, if you're looking at things that are not restaurant tax, or where the restaurant tax does not apply, so you just had golf, for example, you'd have on that same $100, you'd have $1 or 1.75% or $1.75 for $101.75, and then the sales tax on top of that for $7.12 for a total of $108.87. So I think we now have that worked out as well as to how that works. I also wanted to go through, there was some interesting local impacts in addition to from a tax perspective. There's anticipated to be 350 jobs created by this Topgolf, and this is Topgolf alone, doesn't include the restaurants. And that's what they typically have at each new location once it's fully operational. All full-time Topgolf employees receive full company benefits. They anticipate that this site will have 450,000 visitors per year. And I think what's interesting is they have done the research on this, and they find that 91% of the visitors return within the first year, and 55% return 5 times or more in the first year. They have an annual marketing budget of $300,000 per year, Topgolf does. They're expecting it to be just the Topgolf portion, about $25 million of construction costs, plus close to $50 million total project costs on the whole development, and they expect 270 jobs to be created during construction. So there's a lot of job creation here. I think this is also interesting is that it's perceived as a strong community amenity by national and local economic development recruiters. So when people are looking to bring companies and businesses to a particular city, they look at some of the entertainment venues and opportunities, and Topgolf is viewed as of strength in those cities in which it's located. So we think it'll be very, very positive for the city of Omaha. We did meet with the various surrounding owners, the Isaacs on the north with the office building, as well as Westroads to the east. Of course, to the west we just have the interstate, and then to the south with H&H Automotive and the property owner of that, the underlying property owner of those dealerships there. And we found that they all are very, very supportive. In fact, Jim Sadler is here today, and I have a letter from General Growth Properties. It's GGP now, but I think Jim's going to also express his support for the project as well after I am done, but I will submit this if you want that.
Thanks, sir.
And so after that, we really appreciate all the support from the various departments. I've been working on this, I believe, since October of last year, so it's been going on a year and a couple months. I appreciate the Enhanced Employment Area Committee that was newly formed, as well as the Planning Board and the City Council members for taking the time to learn about this project, to meet with us, and also the Mayor's Office for their time and support in getting to know this project and learning about it. We're excited about it. I think there's not a day that goes by, I don't think, when people ask me, in the public, when's Topgolf coming, when's Topgolf coming? And I said, well, we're working on that. We have to get through this process first. But they're anticipating a construction start in the fall of 2018 or the spring of 2019. It kind of depends when the dealerships are completed on 168th Street, so they can relocate to there and allow these dealerships at this location be demolished, and then of course construction to start right away. It's anticipated that it will open in the fall of 2019 or the spring of 2020, depending on when that construction starts. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and the development team's here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Jim Sadler, General Manager, Westroads Mall, 10102 Grover Street. I would just like to say that General Growth Properties as well as Westroads Mall are in full support of this development. We know what this means to a city like Omaha. We're very familiar with their success around the country, and we're more than pleased to have them as neighbors. Thank you.
Are there any other proponents or people who wish to be heard? Any others? Are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. Cassie, could I have you come forward?
Cassie Pabin, Mayor's Office.
Thank you, Cassie. Needless to say, this is a unique project. No question about that. I'm looking at the enhanced tax part of it right now, because I'm not just thinking about this project, but I'm thinking about the number of islands that we're going to have throughout the city of Omaha. So that's one reason, as like I say, this project sounds, if you're against it, man, this sounds like you're really on the wrong side of the track. I'm looking at the concept of taxes, et cetera, et cetera. It has been explained to us about this committee. How did this committee evolve?
The committee evolved via a executive order that the mayor issued, I believe, at the beginning of August. I'm pretty sure I briefed the city council members on that sometime in August, if I recall correctly. But it was really as a result of the conversations that took place as the Capital District Enhanced Employment Area was going through this body for approval this past summer, and recognizing maybe that there's a need to have a little bit more vetting through the process, not really knowing what sort of potential applications might be coming forward, but we felt it was best, similar to like what we have with the TIF committee, that there be a committee involved, that the reviews, just like we do with all the TIF applications that come through, to really vet it by the time it would ever end up in front of you for consideration.
Right. And I thank you for that, because I thought initially the Capitol, it just seemed like everybody just pushing things towards us, and the concept of having somebody vet these, not saying the Capitol wasn't vetted, but so we'd really have an understanding that they did have to jump some hurdles just to prove the value of the project.
Yeah, I would say the committee, as Mr. Jobin stated, we met with them on a couple of different occasions. There was some correspondence back and forth, clarifying questions. We spent quite a bit of time going through the information that was presented. I think we've learned what stuff we need to make sure we're including and asking for, and we received that in this case to get a better idea of what it is that they're looking at doing. This is a little unique. Unlike Capital District, this is not located inside of a community redevelopment area, so tax increment financing was not available. So you have a little bit of a difference in this case, but we did spend a considerable amount of time going through that effort of reviewing this application.
Okay. I think it was shown to us the value of the different taxes, but I want you, without trying to catch you unaware, so let's say if I go there, if I pay state and city taxes, how much is that?
Just sales tax alone. Sales tax alone combined would be 7%, 1.5% city sales tax, 5.5% state sales tax. If you had a food and beverage, you would add the additional 2.5% restaurant tax on top of any food and beverage sale.
Okay. And then this particular tax would be $1.
1.75% on
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah, that was shown on $100, so basically a little over $11 on
I
tax.
think it works out to, if you had a food and beverage sale combined, I believe you have around 11.25% total tax liability on that sale. If you don't have food and beverage, then you would take out that additional 2.5%. So you'd have, what is that, 8.75%?
Good memory. Can't.
Hey, I took a lot of math.
You've been doing this a long time on the $100. The issue that I would have is how much of that goes back to the taxpayer?
Well, with the sales tax, the portion, if you're just looking at the city sales tax portion, that 1.5%, and I'm not talking about any food and beverage sales, I'm just talking pure sales tax numbers. That 1.5% would be remitted to the city and would go into the city coffers. And it would go into everything that we look at as the mayor and the finance director then move forward with creating a budget that's then presented to you. That 5.5% would get remitted to the state. So technically, you would have 7% goes into the governmental agencies that are then dispersed for various, police, fire, snow removal, trash pickup, et cetera, particularly on the local side, and then everything that state government would provide for that 5.5%.
Okay. And then what part of that sales tax would go into the pockets of private individuals?
The only portion of that would go back, and it actually doesn't go into the pockets of the developer, it would go to pay off the note that they are required to take out to pay for this. It would be that 1.75%.
I understand. It doesn't directly go into the pocket,
I understand.
indirectly.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
But on the same concept of taxes. What has Papillion done recently, or I should say La Vista? Did they, on the 84th Street, did they go to the vote of the people on taxes?
I would have to go back and look. Off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure what they've all done. I know that other jurisdictions in the past have had the ability to increase their sales tax amount up to 2%. By state law, the city of Omaha is not allowed to go above 1.5%. So some communities, and I'm not exactly 100% familiar with what Papillion did, although maybe Mr. Stubbe might be able to answer that question. But other communities across the state have had that ability to increase their local option sales tax.
Because I think La Vista on that 84th Street, they're really revitalizing.
Yeah, there's a development project I believe took out a golf course that was part of the city of La Vista. I think it's called the City Center Project, if I recall correctly, mixed-use development. But again, we look at things regionally from an economic development standpoint. I'm not intimately familiar with the details of that particular project.
And I'm not, I'm not holding it to you. I'm just using it as.
I appreciate that.
Right. But that went to the vote of the people.
Mr. Stubbe is shaking his head yes, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes. So whatever the city of Papillion did as it relates to taxes would have had to have gone to a vote of the people.
Okay. See, the concern I have on this, and although this to me is a great concept, not arguing with that at all. I'm arguing with the idea of taxes. And I'm concerned that we're not going to have islands, because right now, as I see it, we have one island with the Capital District, and this one, I'm assuming it has a good likelihood to be approved, be another island. What happens, let's say that an area such as like another one, like, Crossroads, that could be an island. I'm not saying it's going to be, but out in my district, pardon? Oh, out in my district, there's a couple malls that probably could be revitalized. To me, it seems like we're going to be having islands.
I think based on how this tool, because that's what I would term it as a tool to help aid in development, how this tool is crafted via state law, and how, our ordinance basically mirrors what is in state law. How that works, could you run that potential Sure. I mean, you could also say you run that potential with tax increment financing too. You have those various islands that exist. And I understand your concern, and the vote of the people on the tax is one thing. You know, while I understand you could have a tax is a tax is a tax, whole 9 yards on that. And in some communities where they've had to vote to increase their local option sales tax from 1.5% to 2% or 1% to 1.5%, whatever it might have been, and that's gone to a vote of the people. You could also maybe, in another light, take a look at this as the taxpayers voting with their feet if they attend and participate and frequent that facility. I mean, that is one way you could look at it. I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent, but potentially another view I would just offer up in terms of the taxes.
Well, if I believed in that, everyone, they said with the restaurant tax they were going to leave the city, and apparently the restaurant tax has proved to be somewhat successful, because we do get, 30-some million from that.
Yeah, you'd have to verify that for sure with the finance director, but I believe that's correct.
So the idea of having little islands, you do not see that as a potential problem?
I'm not sure I would call it a problem, but I would say I think each one of these, as we mentioned during the Capital District, you kind of have to take each one of these as the merit with the project, and is it appropriate for the project? And in some areas, you have to take a look at, does it make sense? Are there any other alternatives? Do you really need it? Do you not need it? But sure, I mean, just as with TIF, the potential to have these quote-unquote islands, it exists.
So are you saying we ought to go to the vote of the people on increasing sales tax?
That's not what I'm saying at all, because technically we can't do that. What I'm saying is, does the potential exist to have pockets of enhanced employment areas across the city? The potential exists, but so with the potential to have areas that, as we see right now, we have a pocket that is a CRA that is TIF in what was Old Town Elkhorn. We have a pocket in Millard. We have, a pocket kind of in that crossroads area within District 66. So, I mean, if you look at those, you could say those are potential islands as well if you wanted to try to make that comparison. But I'm not sure I'm in a position to say whether or not it's a problem, but does the potential exist? Absolutely, it exists.
Yeah. And I appreciate coming up and answering something, because I just want to make sure the public knows what we're doing, because when they hear taxes, some of these, if they're obligated to spend it, it's because of where they're going.
Absolutely.
It's a choice if they want to do that. Or, so I thank you, Cassie. I appreciate that. I just have one more question, because it was brought up, and I had looked at that. The vacating that frontage road, is that something you could help me with, Mr. Stubbe?
Bob Stubbe, Public Works.
They talk about vacating the road, the frontage road. That looked like a pretty good strip.
Yes, I mean, that's something that on a periodic basis the developer might come in and look at vacating some existing right-of-way. And so we within Public Works go through that evaluation with the developer in this particular case for 102nd Street and come to some understanding and agreement with regard to vacating that stretch. So it doesn't have an impact from the standpoint of the street network, because it's essentially serving those properties along there. But I think Mr. Jobin indicated that cross easements will be retained, so anybody accessing that location will essentially almost see it like public right-of-way, because they have the ability to use that public right-of-way. And the other thing is that it goes private. That means it's no longer maintained by the city of Omaha. It will be maintained by the developer.
Who developed that road initially? Was that the city or the owners of the property?
I would venture to guess in this particular case it was probably the developer of that particular area there that put that particular road in. I mean, that's typically, if you look at SID type of development, the SIDs would be responsible for all of the infrastructure within that particular development, and therefore they would get it back based on the sales of the individual lots that are served by that particular road.
Okay. Yes, and I do understand that the public will still have the right to that. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Festerson.
Thank
Thanks, Mr. President. Well, this area is within my district, so I do welcome a unique project and a $54 million reinvestment into the city and into my district. I think it will boost the Westroads area, which is doing great, and will soon occupy a otherwise unoccupied empty car lot while producing 350 jobs. So that's a substantial project in my area that I appreciate. Mr. Pauls asked several of the questions I was going to ask about the enhanced employment area, but Ms. Pavin just maybe a couple more things on that. So I think it is good that we do have a structure around this now with the mayor's executive order and the folks she's appointed to that, including yourself, I think, as the mayor's representative, right?
Correct. Cassie Pavin, mayor's office, that's correct.
Thanks. And I assume then it was unanimous approval on the committee and that you'd agree with Mr. Jobin's statement that I believe he said it would be without this tool, a negative 3.14% return. In other words, they wouldn't be doing it but for this tool. And is that your assessment as well?
Yeah, the committee, when we reviewed the application that was made, the request that was made, obviously there were sufficient eligible expenses to cover that. They actually came in with, I believe, less than a smaller request than what they actually had in eligible expenses. If memory serves me correct, without digging through my file, I believe they had approximately a little over $8 million in total eligible expenses. The request was for $5 million. The review concurred with that, as well as the other financials. It was apparent that without something in there, that there would have been a negative return on the investment made by this potential developer.
So it can't be done without it. And I think you already observed there's no other incentives that's not eligible for TIF, and this incentive would go to public improvements as described by the proponents here on the site and the vacation and the street situation there. One more thing about the committee's review and discussion you may have had. I see the Capital District and the Topgolf project as being the large and unique type projects this was intended for. But as we continue to think about the future and how this committee will operate, can you talk or offer any more insight about the criteria I might have discussed as to what can qualify in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we discussed when I briefed the council on the committee and the executive order that the mayor created at that time, we would take a look at them as those requests came in. We have not received any other applications for this, so this is it until someone decides that they are going to bring forward one. But we would take a look at it, obviously make sure it qualifies and meets with state law as well as the city ordinance, go through and really look at the uniqueness of that project. I think, as we mentioned previously, and going back, if you recall, to the Capital District dialogue that took place, we would, obviously, the uniqueness of the project, what's the impact, is it a job creation project, those types of things. But I'm not sure any of us necessarily wanted to put ourselves in a box as it related to having very specific type parameters saying it has to be over X amount of investment or X amount of job creation. Particularly the job creation is one that's already outlined within the law itself if you're not inside the community redevelopment areas if you were using TIF with a project. So obviously you have to meet those minimum thresholds there, but we would continue to take a look at it, I think on a case-by-case basis and kind of fill it out. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we would ever get into a cycle where we see this like TIF. I think some developers see the practical use of it. I think some developers don't, and it has to be what is right and makes sense for them. Okay. So I think we'll continue to see it that way. Again, it's new. We're still working with it, and as we continue to move forward, we'll start to vet some of those options as well.
So accurate to say the committee sees it as only in unique and infrequent circumstances, and only when it can't be done without it.
I would say that's accurate, particularly in this case.
Okay. Thank you.
Move to approve the amendment as a whole on item 6.
Second. Mr. Pauls.
Cassie, I have one more question. When I heard, because I'm impressed with the number of jobs, 350, but how many jobs in the enhanced area is a person required to have? I thought there was a certain number.
There is,
Like 30?
and I'll have the city attorney correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it's a minimum of 300 or 350, 300 jobs, I believe is what it is, and some investment.
I thought it was 30. 30.
Well, we can make it 300. That'd be kind of fun too.
Well,
wouldn't
what
it?
I'm saying, if it's
I mean, they already said they're creating 300, but I do know that there is a job creation number that's in there.
But okay, so I'm saying that because I just heard from one of the councilmen that this is going to be unique. But if I can show that I'm going to provide 30 really good jobs, that I would be in the running.
You'd also have to apply, and you would also
Yeah,
have
I
to
understand.
you'd have to
Capital
apply, but you'd also have to have the eligible expenses. And be able to show that you're going to do it. I'm not sure every development that comes through the planning department for approval for entitlements will be able to necessarily have all those eligible expenses.
No, that
Yeah.
part I understand. Okay.
But yeah, there is a job creation number associated, and I believe, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, there's also an investment number too, correct?
What, $1 million, $1.5 million?
It's a couple, it's maybe 3. I think it's 3 and 30. I was playing with
Okay.
Nebraska Advantage numbers
That's
earlier,
fine.
so I
Yeah, know
have
there
my
are some-
tiers all
Yeah, okay, I hear you.
kind of complex. But yeah, there are some minimum thresholds in the law.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Palermo.
Thank you, President. Deb Ward, if you could come down, please. Thank you. 30 and 300.
Deborah Ward, representing Visit Omaha, 1640 Dodge.
Yeah, thank you for coming down. I'm not asking you to take a position on the tax, but tell me. Yeah, we'll make that choice. Tell me, in this ever competitive business of tourism, how does a business like Topgolf, how does it help sway the fulcrum to our city's advantage?
You know, we talk to our sales managers and our executive director who are constantly out selling Omaha across the country, and what they tell me is that a Topgolf experience here elevates the perception of Omaha as a metropolitan city. In our experience, when meeting planners hear that you're a city with a Topgolf, it instantly gives them an image of a city with lots to do, a larger city with lots to do. Having a facility such as Topgolf also offers another entertainment option for visiting convention and corporate meeting groups. In fact, in October, a couple of our sales managers were at the IMAX trade show in Las Vegas, one of the largest meeting and events trade shows in the country, and quite a few of the groups, even in Vegas, were taking a lot of their client events to the Topgolf there. From a leisure perspective, having Topgolf in the city adds another indoor-outdoor visitor experience that's available 365 days a year. So again, I think we would agree that it's a strong amenity to a city. So as we're selling, it's a strong addition.
Thank you. And for me, that's a big point on approving something like this, is helping out tourism. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Melton.
I'd make my comments now, but I just want to say that I'm extremely excited about Topgolf coming. I think they're one of the most unique and fabulous and exciting things to do. Of course, my family, as there's some other people in the audience know, is they like to golf a lot. And I know that my son will probably be a frequent flyer in your establishment, and he won't care what he's paying. He'll probably have his mom and dad pay. But I just want to let you know, before you've come in here, what I think is that we need to find more tools for economic development and encouraging companies like yourself to come to Omaha. And I think one of the problems is we don't really have any. If you're not in a tax increment financing area, we don't really have much to offer in way of economic incentives. That is one of the things that I would like to work on, so that we don't have to rely upon an occupation tax. And I have to tell you, I'm just fundamentally opposed to occupation taxes. I think it's unfortunate that that's all we have in order to incentivize you to come to our great city. I think you probably could increase your prices and we would still come and play Topgolf. The people in this city would do that. So I do think that that's unfortunate. I plan to vote for 7 through 15. I'm extremely excited. I hope I'm still invited to your opening. I plan to come the second day after it opens if I'm not, because I just think it's a great idea. So I just want to let you know, when you hear my vote for no, this is absolutely nothing to do with Topgolf, what you do. I celebrate and welcome you to the city, and I'm grateful you're here. I really do wish we had other incentives other than an occupation tax. And in fact, I would think you wish we had other incentives so that you weren't adding a tax to your customer's bill when they come in, and then all of a sudden they have a $100 bill, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm paying an extra $11.50 or 75 cents. So I'm sure you would agree that we probably need to find something better. At this point in time, I don't think it's going to have any problem passing with this council. I welcome you to the city, and I hope that we'll take this as a learning experience and really make it our goal to find better ways to incentivize companies to come, so we're not putting other places or other companies in a position like yours. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'll echo a little bit of what Ms. Melton said, but I think the difference is I think I'll be voting in favor of it. But I agree we need to find better incentives. But this is something that one of the advantages of something like this as opposed to TIF is that the property tax is being paid from day one on the then assessed value of the project. It's not something that lags 13 to 15 years later. So I think I made some comments on when this was proposed for the Capital District, the enhanced employment area. I felt like my hands were a little tied because that was really approved. It was part of the development agreement before I was on the council. Had I been on the council prior to that, I would not have been voting in favor of that for the Capital District. But in this case, it is something that is on the books. It is almost in lieu of tax increment financing. It's the only other tool we have to offer. I agree with Ms. Melton. We need to find different ways maybe to attack this animal. But it's a great project for Omaha, as Mr. Palmero pointed out with Ms. Ward's comments about what it will mean to the city regionally. I think it's a great project, and anticipating that the vote's going to be in favor of it, we welcome you to the community too. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one quick question, or one quick suggestion maybe. Are you planning to have a job fair? Are there plans to have a job fair? Sanjay, is there plans to have a job fair?
Yes, Sanjay Arora at Topgolf. Yeah, we do have, we will have a job fair, and we'll, utilize, obviously, local residents to fill those 350 jobs.
Thank you.
But, yeah.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know from you. My other comment is we've been going down to the legislature now for a while trying to get them to enhance and give us better tools. And I hope in future years that we're a little bit more lucky than we have been in the past with them, because we've asked for a number of tools before and have been shot down quite a bit. So I'm hoping that there's a change of mind of the legislature. There's been a motion and a second to approve item 6. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
No.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. No. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 6 as amended is approved 5-2.
Thank you.
7 through 15. Second.
Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 7 through 15 are approved 7-0. Items 16 through 18 can be considered together for the Kennedy Early Childhood Center located at 3200 North 30th Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 16, an ordinance to rezone this property from GI District to R5. Item 17, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the ACI-1 PL Area of Civic Importance Overlay District to incorporate this property into that district. Item 18, a resolution to approve a special use permit application submitted by 75 North Revitalization Corporation for a special use permit to allow daycare in an R5 urban family residential district.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 16 through 18 are today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Luke Weatherly, Olson Associates, 2111 South 67th Street, here on behalf of the applicant. We also have the applicant and a few others in attendance with us today. From RDG, the architect of the project, Greg Galbraith, from 75 North, Sydney Franklin, from Buffett Early Learning, Gladys, and from OPS, Jeremy Madsen. We'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them today. Hopefully this case is a little bit more straightforward and not as long as the last one. So.
Thank you. Yeah. We hope so too. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. I imagine the President will want to say a few things about this because it is in his district and it's a fantastic development, and in particular, this part of it I think is really important too. So I did want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about it if you desire, because this is the Early Childhood Center component of 75 North, and it's a critical component, I think, of what they're trying to accomplish there, and also early childhood itself, I think, is a critical component of all we're trying to accomplish here in throughout the city, but in particular North and South Omaha, and addressing poverty in the future of our schools and our kids. So please take an opportunity to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll address some of the comments on the civil engineering side of things. This project is located at the southwest corner of 30th and Bedford. It's approximately a 30,000 square foot facility. There is existing properties on the direct corner that will not be affected currently with this project. We have gone through ABA and ZBA to get some waivers as far as driveway access for safety on the ABA side, as far as access off of 30th Street and then exiting onto Bedford, so providing multiple accesses over there. The ZBA is for the additional number of children in this type of zoning, not atypical for this type of project. I'd probably need the floor to somebody from either 75 North or early learning if they want to get up and give a little bit more of a background on the actual building itself and the uses that are in the building.
Great.
So.
Hi, Sydney Franklin, 75 North. We are super excited about the extension of the work that we're doing in the Highlander neighborhood. This is a later phase in kind of the full project that we're doing in connection to the work going on in the Highlander neighborhood just south of 30th and Lake. Part of our organizational goals is to offer the kids in this neighborhood an opportunity to access just kind of a high quality education and a level of preparedness for and readiness for kindergarten. So we're super excited about this project and this development and its relationship to Howard Kennedy Elementary and the kids in this neighborhood. And Gladys, if you'd like to talk at all about just kind of the impact for the kids in the community, and then also some of the proposed uses in the facility.
Good afternoon. I'm Gladys Haynes with the Buffett Early Childhood Fund. The Early Learning Centers are an exciting endeavor on our part. We are working not only with the 75 North project, but very closely with the Omaha Public Schools. The facility will provide high-quality early childhood education services to 96 infants and toddlers, so we can enroll them as early as 6 weeks. Actually, it can go down to 2 weeks if necessary. And then in addition, the Omaha Public Schools will operate 4 preschool classrooms that will serve another 68 children. And part of the programming of the Omaha Early Learning Centers is high family engagement. So not only will we be working with the children, but also engaging their parents, helping them with parenting issues, helping them understand how they can facilitate their children's development. This center is a little bit unique compared to the 2 other centers we have in that a second floor will house what we call the Nebraska Early Childhood Collaborative. That's a shared services organization that supports early childhood programs across the city. So they will be engaging in helping programs with professional development, mentoring directors, mentoring teachers, coaching, and in addition will provide the HR and accounting support necessary to run not only the early learning centers, but also the educare centers, as well as be available to other child care centers in the community that simply don't have the capacity to provide or hire someone to provide those services on their own. If there's any other questions, I certainly will answer them.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, well, thank you for providing that background. I think it was just important to give you a chance to talk about that, because I think it is a very important aspect of the entire project and an important part of what we're trying to accomplish here. So thanks for that, and I'll yield the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I have somebody who's either representing the early childhood setting? I think, yes. Yeah. Of course, I think early childhood is where it truly begins. I'm curious now. How long have the centers that you're involved with been around?
So the early learning centers are sort of siblings or roll-offs from the EduCare centers.
Right.
And the EduCare centers started in April of 2002. So the EduCares have been operating for about 15 years.
Okay.
The early learning centers, which are more focused on infants and toddlers, because that's where our greatest need is for child care, those have been in operation for about 2.5 years now.
Okay, well then the EduCare has been around early 2000. Do you or have you done a longitudinal study to see what the effects have been on the children who have gone through your system? Because that's been a number of years now. And I think we need to look at the longitudinal study. And I just wondered if you follow the children through the program. Because
now, I thought you said you didn't want this to go as long as the previous one.
But to me, after reading what's been in the World Herald lately about ACT scores, we need to be talking about that because that's part of our responsibility even as a city. I'm not asking for a long detail, but just
I'll give you
have we done, I mean, has there been a study?
So I was the founding executive director there, and we did do follow-up studies. We followed the children and looked and compared their scores in 3rd grade, 8th grade, and I believe it was 10th grade.
Okay.
And actually what we saw is that, this is with the EduCare children because the early learning children haven't been here that long. What we saw is that if the children had been enrolled in an EduCare program for 2+ years, it had to be over 2 years, their scores were at or above the state scores at that time. In reading, in math scores across our entire state, if you aren't aware of this, are always a little bit lower. But our children, and remember we use Head Start standards, so we could only recruit and enroll children who were at 100% of poverty or lower. So to give you an idea where that compares, the free and reduced lunch is 185% of poverty. So these are some of the children that would be considered most at risk, and they were no lower, they were equal to the children in other urban districts, and in reading were actually above the state average regardless of income. So we have some pretty firm documentation. Every year those children participate in a very intense evaluation, and our children are actually entering kindergarten. If 100 were the average, their scores are around 97, 98. So we really feel that if you show and you do year-round programming, intense, high quality, meet their behavioral needs or mental health needs, that in fact these children can be ready for kindergarten.
And it's like really children who are at need. I mean, who really do need this help. Goes to show you, and that's the part that I like to have people hear, because when you see some of these test scores, you say, well, what are we doing? But it shows that when you've concentrated effort on children,
and we will be, this will be our first attempt at mixed income. So at this facility, I probably should clarify, there will be some children who may be of a highly or a slightly higher social and economic status, because we're recruiting from the Project North, which is a mixed income model, housing model, but all the children we focus on will be from that area or the surrounding area.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate it.
Certainly.
Just a couple of comments and then hopefully the vote here, but it's kind of ironic that Mr. Harding and Mr. Pauls and I were discussing this very morning about test scores, and I will share with you that with the state of North Omaha that we did this past Saturday, Howard Kennedy was one of the lowest performing schools across the board for a considerable period of time until they got involved, and now Howard Kennedy is starting to make some significant moves up the ladder. So obviously the program works. Early childhood, as you say, Mr. Pauls, is the key to children surviving in a school district setting if they don't get that education early on. But Howard Kennedy has moved up, and with this enhanced work that we know that they're going to be doing, we see some really great things for not only Howard Kennedy but some other schools in the area as well. So this is an important effort, and I'd like to thank, first of all, the entire group here. I'd like to thank specifically 75 North and the work that you've done. This has been a game changer for North Omaha. It's been a game changer for a number of residents and a number of students in North Omaha, and I see nothing but great things ahead, and so keep up the good work. There are no more lights. Is there a motion? Second, no more lights, roll call.
Pauls. Yes. Palermo. Yes. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 16 through 18 are approved, 7-0.
Thank you all.
Items 19 and 20 can be considered together for property located at 60th Street and Northwest Radial Highway. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 19, an ordinance to rezone this property from R7 District and GO District to R7 District. Item 20, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the MCC Overlay District to incorporate this property into that district.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 19 and 20 are today. Proponents, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Brent Beller, 11440 West Center Road, appearing on behalf of the project applicant, St. James Apartment Partners, LLC. Before you today is a rezoning of a piece of property located at 6060, generally located at 6060 Northwest Radial Highway. That's this property right here. Currently, this is where the Catholic Voice is located. It's a newspaper here in town. This property was acquired by the project applicant. They also own this larger parcel, which is the St. James Manor Apartments, which is a low-income housing development, approximately 60 units. The applicant put in an award down at NIFA, got tax credits. In conjunction with their redevelopment of the existing apartments, of which there's 60, they're going to take 12 units out of this apartment and construct 2 new buildings on the Catholic Voice parcel. So in conjunction with those 2 new buildings, we've asked to rezone to R7. I have a general site plan that shows the depiction of the 2 new buildings. So again, here's the existing Catholic Voice parcel. That's going to remain. That's going to be a property management building. And then the 2 new buildings are going to be constructed right here. Again, 12 new units, 10 2-bedroom, 2 3-bedroom units. And obviously any of the new buildings on the Catholic Voice parcel going to comply with the urban design code or standards. As far as the existing buildings that are on the St. James parcel, no major exterior renovations going on there, just some siding, reworking of the balconies. But with that, we appreciate your consideration. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Brent, if you would. Thanks for coming down today. I'm sorry we missed each other this morning,
That's
but
okay.
I appreciate you showing us the update there. I thought it was important to discuss it a little bit, given all that's going on in Benson and all the improvements we had. And I was just touring through the Benson Lights apartments across the street, which has been a great addition, and I see this as being also a positive addition with additional housing for people in the area. So we'll have 2 new buildings, it looks like, right?
That's correct.
And the Catholic Voice, where do they relocate to, do you know?
Brent Beller, 1144 West Center Road. I don't know, in all honesty.
Okay. And how many more units in total then?
So the unit count's staying the same. So 60 units in the entire development. They're just taking 12 units from the existing complex, moving those into the 2 new buildings. As part of their application to get tax credits, they agreed to expand living areas within the St. James Manor. So to make that feasible, they acquired the Catholic Voice parcel and obviously going to do the 2 new buildings.
So the current units are getting bigger and nicer?
That's right.
Okay. And do you know the approximate value of the investment there?
I don't know the final value, and that's kind of, frankly, I don't know. The idea is for this to be placed in service probably the end of 2018, just so they can acquire the tax credits.
Okay. So construction probably starting early next year?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Motion
you.
approved.
Moved and seconded to approve items 19 and 20. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo. Yes. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 19 and 20 are approved, 7-0.
Thank you.
Item 21, an ordinance to rezone the property located at 424 South 24th Street from DS District to CBD District. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 21 is today. Proponents, please.
Darren Smith, Archicon Development, owner and developer, here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Move to approve.
Second, roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 21 is approved, 7-0. Item 22, an ordinance to rezone the properties located at 1406, 1407, 1409, 1410, 1411, and 1414 South 13th Street from GI District to NBD District. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 22 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Second, roll call.
Pauls. Palermo. Festerson. Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 22 is approved, 7-0. Item 23, an ordinance to rezone the properties located at 1206 and 1208 South 20th Street from GI District to R7 District. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 23 is today. Proponents, please.
I'm the proponent, Christina Norwich, owner of the two properties.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve item 23. No lights. Roll call.
Pauls. Palermo. Festerson. Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 23 is approved, 7-0. Item 24, an ordinance to rezone the properties located at 5611 and 5613 Charles Street from R435 District to R5 District. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 24 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded to approve item 24. No lights. Roll call.
Pauls. Palermo. Festerson. Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 24 is approved, 7-0. Item 25, an ordinance to approve an amendment to the land use element of the master plan for the City of Omaha to change the future land designation from office commercial and low-density residential to office commercial for an area bound by Meredith Avenue on the north, Ames Avenue on the south, Fontenelle Boulevard on the east, and 45th Street on the west. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 25 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Second, roll call.
Pauls. Palermo. Festerson. Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 25 is approved, 7-0. Item 26, an ordinance to approve an amendment to the land use element of the master plan for the City of Omaha to assign the future land designation as low-density residential for an area generally southwest of 144th Street and West Dodge Road. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 26 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Second, roll call.
Pauls. Palermo. Festerson. Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 26 is approved, 7-0. Item 27, an application to consider a Class I liquor license for Tired Texan BBQ LLC, doing business as Tired Texan BBQ, located at 4702 South 108th Street.
Public hearing on agenda item number 27 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Jack Holland, Tired Texan Barbecue, 4702 South 108th Street.
And Christine Holland, same address.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be? Did you want to make a statement at all or just answer any questions?
Just answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve item 27. There are no lights. Roll call.
Pauls. Palermo. Festerson. Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 27 is approved, 7-0.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Item 28, an application to consider a Class D liquor license for Maple 58 LLC, doing business as Speedy Gas and Shop, located at 503 North 33rd Street. A's communication from the manager of Maple 58 requesting to amend their application from a Class D liquor license to a Class B liquor license.
Public hearing on agenda item number 28 is today. Proponents, please.
Mohammed Al-Huli, the owner of 503 North 33rd Street, Omaha, Nebraska.
Thank you. You should here to answer any questions.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Jerem.
Yes. Mohammed, welcome to the
Yes.
City Council.
Thank you.
it's my understanding you've reached agreement with your landlord that not only will you be amending to the Class B, but you'll also agree that there will be a restriction for no single sales.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. With that understanding, I would move to approve with that condition.
Okay,
The amendment.
thank you.
Approve the amendment. Second. No further lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
As amended.
Second.
With the condition.
Second. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 28 as amended is approved 7-0. Item 29, an application to appoint Kelly A. Smith as manager of Happy Hollow Club, Inc., doing business as Happy Hollow Club, to their Class C liquor license located at 1701 South 105th Street.
Public hearing agenda item number 29 is today. Proponents, please.
Hi, Kelly Smith, 1701 South 105th Street.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve item 29. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
Thank you.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 29 is approved 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 30, an application to appoint Francis Mark Mercer as manager of the following Class C liquor license locations: Euro Nebraska Limited, doing business as the Boiler Room Restaurant, located at 1110 Jones Street, and Old Market Company, Inc., doing business as La Bouvette, located at 511 South 11th Street.
Public hearing on agenda item number 30 is today. Proponents, please.
I'm Mark Mercer, or Francis Mark Mercer, and I'm the retirement of the former manager. I want to be appointed to the manager position for these businesses that we own.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve item 30. There are no lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 30 is approved 7-0. Item 31, an application to appoint Sean R. Blizzard as manager of Wadsworth Old Chicago, Inc., doing business as Old Chicago, to their Class I liquor license located at 1109-1111 Harney Street.
Public hearing on agenda item number 31 is today. Proponents, please.
Yes, my name is Sean Blizzard, 15416 Davidson Street, Bennington. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve item 31. No lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item
you.
31 is approved 7-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
The public hearing on agenda items numbers 32 through 37 were held on December 5th, 2017.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve items 32 through 37. No lights. Roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 32 through 37 are approved 7-0.
The public hearing on agenda items numbers 38 through 50 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by your name, your address, who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Move to approve.
Second, roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 38 through 50 are approved 7-0. Item 51, an ordinance approving a bid and multiple purchase orders from Allied Oil and Tire with an annual estimated cost of $129,373.75 for a one-year price agreement with the option to extend for an additional 2 one-year extensions.
Public hearing on agenda item number 51 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 52, an ordinance to accept the bids from Alexander Lawn and Landscape, All Seasons Turf and Tree, LLC, Nebraska's Best Lawn and Landscape, LLC, and Superior Green for grounds maintenance mowing of city rights-of-way for a period of 2 years with the option of two one-year extensions for a maximum of 4 years.
Public hearing on agenda item number 52 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 53, an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to issue purchase orders to Cross Dillon Tire on a 1-year price agreement for tire repairs to be utilized by the Fleet Maintenance Division to be effective upon passage of this ordinance and is extendable for 2 additional 1-year extensions at the sole option of the city.
Public hearing on agenda item number 53 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 54, an ordinance to transfer a permanent easement and land to the Metropolitan Utilities District of Omaha for purposes of erecting an above-ground gas regulator station to replace a vaulted gas regulator station that is now in conflict with OPW 53114, being the 114th Street Burke to Pacific Street project.
Public hearing on agenda item number 54 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 55, an ordinance vacating the north-south alley right-of-way between 17th and 18th Street south of M Street abutted by Lot 2, Block 6, McGavick and O'Keefe's subdivision, and Lot 2, Block 0, Harbick 3rd Edition subdivision, providing for the reversion or transfer of the same. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 55 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 56, an ordinance approving a real estate purchase agreement with Habitat for Humanity of Omaha, Inc. to convey the property located at 2424 South 21st Street in consideration of $1.
Public hearing on agenda item number 56 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 57, a special ordinance levying a special assessment for fees and civil penalties in accordance with the vacant and abandoned property ordinance on certain lots in the City of Omaha, group number 2017-02. A is communication received from the property owner of 3525 North 20th Avenue.
Public hearing on agenda item number 57 is today. Proponents, please. 57, proponents? Okay, seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard?
Yes. David Selby, 8742 Frederick Street, on behalf of the owner of 3525 North 28th Ave. We're not opposing the ordinance. We are opposing that particular piece of property being part of the ordinance. Vitali Equin purchased the property at a sheriff's sale, and the deed was recorded in June of 2016. He has commenced to make improvements on the property and try to get it up to snuff. Several weeks after he purchased it, there was a burglary and a vandalism of the property. The entire furnace system was stolen, hot water tank, cabinets, fridge, stove, toilets, tubs, television, the copper, microwave, furniture. Windows were broken, drywall was damaged, and fencing that he had placed around the property was stolen also and damaged. He's trying to get the property repaired and fixed up and ultimately sell it and return it to the tax rolls, which would be a benefit to the area and the community. Hitting him with this lien views it almost as a punishment. After the threat, the theft and the vandalism, he did board up the property, but that was for a safety. For safety, because he wanted to do some work inside, and he's concerned that there may be continued threats of theft and or vandalism. I do think that the property itself does not necessarily fit the definition under the municipal code of an abandoned property, because I'm looking at the definitions of abandoned property, and it talks about property being subject of a notice of sale or lender, not the case here. Subject to a tax lien, not the case here. Subject to an active ongoing in foreclosure, not the case here. Subject of a sheriff's sale in foreclosure, which did happen, but under this definition is the highest successful bidder is the beneficiary of the mortgage under the deed of trust. Not the case here. He's purchased it privately. is the property the subject of deed of lieu and foreclosure. Not the case here. So I don't think the property's been abandoned. He has maintained the property. He's mowed. He's been actively doing repairs inside. Matter of fact, he's been doing drywall and painting just recently. There is an ongoing insurance investigation in this matter. And matter of fact, he's going to be giving a statement under oath to the insurance people tomorrow morning. He'd just like time to get the investigation done under the insurance, and then if there's any registrations or permits that he needs to get, he'll get them. But he just doesn't want to have this property included under this ordinance and hit with that $4,200 assessment, because that would jeopardize his ability to get the property repaired and ultimately sold and be benefit to the community. So I'm respectfully asking that this piece of property, 3525 North 28th Ave, be removed from the proposed ordinance.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Mr. Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Selby, before you leave, I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood or didn't hear it correctly. Walk me through the insurance claim right now.
There has been Mr. Equin contacted his insurance company. There has been an insurance claim filed. The insurance company is investigating it because, well, he's giving a statement under oath to show them what work he's done, who he's hired, because I believe what happened was when he hired some people to do some of the work, and they ended up being the people that burglarized and vandalized the place and stole stuff. People that he had hired to do the work. He had hired contractors, and they, in the vernacular, ripped him off.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear then. Had any claims been paid?
No.
No. Okay.
No, there's been some.
I was misunderstanding. I didn't know if they were already paid out, and that's what he was paying some of these contractors, but no, that's not the case. Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you. Ms. Melton.
Well, and I'm just curious, I don't know if we have anybody from the city here, because now I'm just trying to remember. Again, I wish we would have had more of this information at the time of the Board of Equalization, because in all honesty, I know that there was a statement in this letter kind of saying, how could the city council do this to us? Well, by the way, we need to be presented with facts and evidence, just like in court. When Mr. Jerem and I have to go to court, it's incumbent upon us to actually bring our evidence with us and present it to the court, and not just tell them. So do we have, and I get that you've provided that order to confirm sale for May 19th of 2016, and we understand, I think, that this was a sheriff's sale, but now I can't remember when the notice went out from the city.
I don't know that. Notice for what?
The lien was on there, and I guess is the argument the lien was on there before he purchased the property, and he just discovered it, or the lien went on after he purchased the property, but it shouldn't have because the house has been burglarized and it's not his fault that it's not occupied.
I believe the lien letter went out while he was buying the property, and I think that there was some. Oh, we have some.
There'll be somebody that I'll call up after you in a minute who might be able to answer that question.
Because I'll be honest, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that I believe that there was some representations that the property has been vacant since 2011, which may or may not be the case, but my client has only owned it since 2016. And he is trying to now get it up to snuff, and it was burglarized and vandalized after he purchased it. That's what I know.
Okay, but he purchased it in May of 2016, so it's been a year and a half.
And this is true. And I have a copy of the recorded deed if that's something you wish to see. I mean, I can.
No, I don't doubt that because we have the order to confirm the sale that was presented to us. I assume the deed was filed shortly thereafter.
Deed was filed.
It's just, but the house has still remained abandoned and it's boarded up, right?
It is, well, I would say it is boarded up for safety, yes, and I would not say it's abandoned by the definition of the municipal code.
Okay, thank you. If I could call the city attorney up. Thank you.
Jennifer Taylor, City Attorney's Office.
Let's see. Turn that on. I have for you a copy of the materials that were presented by Jay Davis and Tracy Murray at the Board of Equalization hearing in November for this property. You'll note that the first page, information presented, the notice of violation was delivered to the owner on August 10th, 2016, so after he had recorded the deed and owned the property. And that was part of the discussion that was had at the Board of Equalization. I think, Council Melton, you had that conversation with the owner. Then what was presented were the following photos, which would be December 2016, pictures of the home, May of 2017, August of 2017, and then September of 2017, I think was the last set of photos that were shown. Yes. So what was explained by Mr. Davis and Ms. Murray at the Board of Equalization hearing is that Mr. Eklund was the property owner at the time the notice was given, received the notice, and then for the subsequent year failed to actually maintain the property in a way that did not make it qualify under the ordinance. And it qualifies under the ordinance if it exhibits evidence of vacancy and either has one of the issues that were identified or is subject to various code violations or various of things that would lead you or a normal person to believe that the property is not occupied, i.e. it's not being maintained.
Right. It doesn't have to be vacant and abandoned necessarily. We just have to prove
there's evidence
signs
of vacancy and it's not being maintained to code.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, I just wanted to know, did you? Well, let me say this. When you purchased the property, there was nothing in there, and I know that for a fact. I'm not telling you something that I think. There was no furnace in there prior to you purchasing the property. There were some of the other amenities that you talked about. Some of those were missing from the property before you purchased the property. So are you telling me that you purchased those items and then they were stolen? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Name and address for the record, first of all, please.
Vitali Ekram.
Okay, and you said you purchased those items.
Yes, I have receipt to show as well.
Okay. I have to tell you, I've been by that house. I would have to say I go by that neighborhood, especially in that neighborhood, because there are a number of abandoned lots that I'm working with the land bank on. And I've got to be honest with you. I've never seen that house boarded up. Never.
I can show you. It was boarded up.
I'm looking at the papers that she's shown today. That's what I've seen. I've never seen that house boarded up.
I can show you.
Nor have I seen, other than the fence being put up, any work being done over there.
I can show you pictures and the payment I made to the workers, so you can see it was boarded up, and there was also fence in there. I can also show you my receipt, so you can also see that. I have evidence to show everything that I've stated hearing, so you can believe it. And I paid for those things, and I paid people that did the job, and also they can come to testify on the oath when they did the job and the time, so I can clarify that.
It's going to be difficult for me to be supportive of this when I see the pictures, when I go by there and I see it visually.
I have my own pictures as well.
I know,
it was paid, and people that did the work, they can come. You can invite them. They can testify on the oath. It was boarded up right after the theft, because they broke so many stuff there. I can bring the people here. You can ask them the time, even the check payment. You can look at the date as well. Now know that I paid them for that job. So you can look at the date when they receive the payment, and you can also ask them questions. I did that. And also the items I bought were from Home Depot and Lowe's, and I have the receipt as well. So you can look at the date on the receipt. Now you can know all the things I bought, so you can look at it. Then you can make decisions for yourself.
My biggest concern is I've never seen that house boarded up.
It was boarded up, believe me. Everything inside the house, and I have all the plywood I bought are from Lowe's. All right, I can also show you the receipt. There's about 50 to 100 pieces of plywood I bought. You can check the date and the time. Okay, I paid for that with my card. You can look at the date. I have evidence to prove, so you can look at it. And every work I have done, I have to show the evidence, payment and receipt, so you can look at it as well.
But they're showing you pictures.
I don't have it here with me.
This is the guy who had no permits. He had no
I can send it to you. I can send it to you. tonight.
But see, the hearing, you already had one hearing, now this is your second chance,
I never
and you
knew that
still
you're
don't
gonna have the receipts. That so many of them. I can send them in an email, SAP, so he can be able to look at it. I can send it tonight. All right.
I think it's too late. It needed to be done by today.
Yeah, public hearings.
The last,
Mr. Palermo, you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. I guess that's what I was going to ask for the record to see those pictures that you had or receipts, but you don't have them, and that's fine. What about the permits you would have had to hold for any of the work you would have did? The fence, the furnace, the water heater, the plumbing, the electrical. Did you pull any permits for anything?
I have not entered to that part. What I'm doing right now is the cabinet and the walls. All right.
The cabinet and the
and the walls and the floors. The meat walls. That's where I am right now. All right.
Oh.
That's what I've been doing. I have not done any plumbing or electrical. No, I have not.
Well, I'm just going by what you gave me about what was vandalized or stolen here.
It's just the one was there. Yeah, I have the pictures. They were stolen. You can look at them. They were.
I won't be able to look at them because you didn't bring them. So, did you put the furnace and the water heater in? There was nothing in there when you bought the house for $2,500.
There was water heater before.
But no furnace.
The furnace was what do you call it? It was vandalized. You see some part.
Yeah.
Missing, some part will be there. It's not. It's
Will
not
it say not high efficiency then?
Yes.
Okay. If I can't see it, I can't make a decision. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerald.
Yeah, and I would just note for the record, so the BOE transcript harmonizes with this one. There were substantial credibility issues that I think we unearthed at the Board of Equalization hearing. Similar claims and then inconsistencies within the applicant or the appellant's own testimony. And on the one hand, he was saying he was buying these things and putting them all in, and on the other hand, there were no permits to back up the things that he said he had bought and put in. And now here today, I don't know how much more you want to say with an EUO tomorrow with your insurer. So, because if you're testifying here today, I'm sure the attorney for your insurer is likely to get the transcript from this proceeding as well as the proceeding at the Board of Equalization to compare what you say under oath tomorrow with what you're saying here. Or it's highly likely that that very well may happen. But for me, this was a similar, an echo of what we heard at the Board of Equalization. And then when we ask for the proof and the information, we get these backing up statements. So I think that the evidence in the record established the burden that's required by the ordinances to showing evidence of vacancy and evidence of the property not being maintained. And there's been nothing presented other than hearsay statements backed up by nothing to the contrary with credibility issues.
The public hearing is closed. We can move on. Thank you.
Item 58, an ordinance to enter into a new agreement with Rolling River LLC to specify the terms and conditions of future operation of the Rolling River LLC riverboat excursion operation at Miller Landing Park. The term of this agreement shall be 5 years, ending on December 31st, 2022, with the option of a one-time 5-year extension.
Public hearing agenda item number 58 is today. Proponents, please.
I'm Larry Richling. I'm the owner of the Rolling River LLC at 151 Freedom Park Road. I'm here to answer any questions today since with all the development that's going on the riverfront, we're kind of the one that's never mentioned, and we still are here. We've been here for 15 years. I hope you received the books that I left at the council office to look through so you can see the type of development that we run down there, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Excuse me. Next item.
I think Brinker.
Oh, Brinker.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry.
I could ask next week, but as long as Larry's here, I just wanted to make sure I was clear. Is the current agreement expired, or are we changing the current agreement?
It's been in expired status for a period of time, and we've tried to rectify the contract, and we decided a while back just to go ahead and put together a new one.
A new account. Okay. Correct. All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 59, an ordinance to approve a lease purchase agreement with Motorola Solutions to acquire 116 APX 6500 mobile radios for a 10-year term for the Omaha Fire Department at a final cost of $706,279.30.
Public hearing on agenda item number 59 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 60, an ordinance to approve open orders based upon lowest and best bid within specifications and amounts totaling $482,354.64 in the first year for the purchase of medical supplies used by the Omaha Fire Department.
Public hearing on agenda item number 60 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Non-action items, items 61 through 83, do not require public hearing or city council consideration at this meeting, but will be placed on a future agenda for public hearing and or vote. The reason for non-action is noted after the item on the agenda, as well as the date the item is expected to appear on the agenda for consideration.
So motion adjourned? Second, roll call.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem. Melton. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Meeting adjourned at 3:50.